What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So before I start this video, something that I want to mention that piggybacks off my last video, deployments for Marine reservists, that I completely forgot to mention and I think is important to understand because not a lot of people understand this, not even people in the military. And Matt actually addressed this, and it's the fact that not all deployments are the same and deployment experiences will vary even in the same MOS. So if you guys didn't know, not all deployments are the same. Obviously, like a deployment to Afghanistan, right in the combat zone, right in the sandbox, part of a specific operation is completely different than, let's say, a deployment to Korea where you're not even part of an operation but more of a training event and you're just on standby. Now, Matt mentioned that even in the same MOS field, experiences will vary even if you're on the same deployment. So for example, Matt was in Afghanistan for 9 months as a Motor T operator for Engineer Support Battalion, and he was talking about how his job as a Motor T operator was completely different working for that Engineer Support Battalion than someone who's a Motor T operator with the same MOS working for, let's say, a supply company or whatever else they have out there. He mentioned that his dispatcher never even got to leave the actual base, Camp Leatherneck. That to me is crazy, to be on a 9-month deployment as a Marine in a combat zone, to never step behind the wire and to go on convoys. But he told me that on the last day the dispatcher volunteered to go just so that he could have that, just so that he could say that he went behind the wire. So my point is, guys, that like experiences will vary, not just per deployment obviously, but even in the same deployment, even in the same MOS, experiences will vary. Just keep that in mind. I just thought that was a vital piece of information that you guys should understand. Like I always say, make the most out of every opportunity. If you guys are joining the military, keep in mind that ultimately you are the one in control of your own career. So be opportunistic, take advantage of every single opportunity, big or small, and just keep in mind that experiences will vary even in the same MOS field. But with that said, let's start the video.
I can feel it when you hold me, when you touch me, it's so powerful.
There are a ton of videos on YouTube already that go into excruciating detail about Marine Corps boot camp and how to prepare for it, both mentally and physically, but I figure I'd chime in with my own opinion. Alright, I'll start off by saying that I personally believe the mental aspect of preparing for Marine basic training is far more important than the physical aspect. Yes, the physical aspect of boot camp, of being a Marine, is difficult and is challenging, but you have to keep in mind that as a poolee in the DEP program, they're probably going to push you harder in those PT sessions that you do with your recruiters and your poolees. Those PT sessions are designed to be more strenuous, so that way when you go to boot camp, the physical training is one less thing you have to worry about. And in my experience, I've never seen someone quit or fail due to the physical aspect of physical or Marine basic training, but I have seen people drop out because they were either mentally unprepared or they're just mentally weak. Back in 2012, when I was a poolee, at my recruiting station, I remember we had this one guy who could do 30 pull-ups, run the 1.5-mile IST in 10 minutes or less. He was just an absolute freak of nature. And he actually ended up shipping out with me to boot camp with this one other guy who I'm still friends with on Facebook, so hopefully he's watching this and we can all laugh about it. But that guy, who was the physical PT stud, ended up not even making it to week 3 because he just couldn't handle the mental stress and he basically quit. That just goes to show that you can be the most physically capable individual, but if your mind's not there, if your attitude and your mental fortitude aren't there to align with your physical capabilities, your physical traits mean nothing. And you will find that some of the best Marines in the Marine Corps aren't the most physically capable, they aren't the strongest, they aren't the fastest, but it's their character, their mental fortitude, their discipline, and their ability to lead not just themselves but others that differentiates them from the average Marine. So in order to prepare for the Marines and for basic training, I'm gonna break it down into 3 inhibitors that you should really address before you leave for basic training or boot camp. And those 3 inhibitors are 1, your pride or ego, pretty much thinking that you are too good or that you're better than everyone else. Number 2 is laziness, and I guess that's also, can be described as an unwillingness to learn, unwillingness to do things that are out of your comfort zone. And the third one is the inability to adapt and overcome. Now let's first talk about pride or having an ego. And I know this may be a difficult concept to understand for some of you guys, because as individuals who decided to join the Marines over the other branches, we take pride in being one of the few in the crowd. We take pride in having tougher standards, right? But let me just say this, if you have an ego, leave it at home before you go to Paris Island or San Diego. It is only going to make it harder for you to adjust to the harsh reality of basic training. And keep in mind, at this stage, if you're a poolee, even if you're a recruit, you haven't done jack shit. You have to earn that title as a Marine, and that first means giving up your ego, your false sense of pride, and really submitting yourself to the authority of your drill instructors, and not just to your drill instructors, but to your fellow recruits. Basic training is designed to break you down mentally, emotionally, and to some degree, physically. My best advice is to go there with a humble mindset, with some humility, because it's only gonna make you a better recruit when it comes to obeying orders and doing things that you aren't necessarily going to enjoy doing. This is just my advice, but I think just understanding this would have really helped me out at boot camp. But it's basically expect to hate your drill instructors initially, but just keep in mind, understand that everything that they make you do has an underlying purpose. Just understanding that will help you contextualize all the stupid things that they're gonna make you do, and it's gonna keep you sane. And it's weird if you never experience anything like that, but the best way I can describe it is like having a parent that pushes you so hard, disciplines you, maybe even smacks you around a few times. And as a spoiled little kid, you're not gonna really enjoy it, right? You're gonna be resentful. But as you grow up, you're gonna understand that everything that they made you do, everything that they did in order to push you, was for your own good and your overall betterment. And that's the best way that I can describe the relationship between recruits and drill instructors, because during the first couple of weeks, you are going to hate your drill instructors. You're gonna fear them, and you're also gonna hate them. But as time goes on, you're gonna be, I guess the best way I can describe it is, you're gonna be desensitized to all the stupid things that they're gonna make you do, all the screaming, all the yelling, all the insulting, and you're gonna become numb to that, and you're gonna build this indescribable, almost indispensable bond, this loyalty that you're never gonna find anywhere else, not even with your parents. And you're gonna realize by the end of it all that everything that they made you do only contributed to the development in your becoming of a United States Marine. Now let's talk about laziness. And I know this is really self-explanatory. Don't be lazy, right? Show a willingness to learn, show a willingness to be out of your comfort zone, right? But let me just leave you with this. It's going to behoove you to approach looking at boot camp as a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Now, I know that's kind of hard for you guys to digest and understand, because I looked at boot camp when I went in as like this obstacle that I need to get over in order to become a Marine, right? And we all dread going to boot camp. I mean, let's be honest. But an optimistic way to look at it is to look at it from a perspective that this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You're never going to be able to do it ever again, and to give it your 110%. Best story that I have for this is, so in boot camp we have this thing called IT, which I think stands for intensive training. It's basically when drill instructors get in your face and makes you do a bunch of like push-ups, jumping jacks, and high knees, pretty much like exhaust the shit out of you, right? And you get IT'd all the way up to the last week before you go on the crucible. And I remember right before that week, it was the last day that the drill instructors could IT us. They were taking volunteers to get IT'd. People, like recruits, were volunteering to get IT'd because they knew that it was the last time that in their entire Marine Corps career that they were gonna be IT'd by their drill instructors. And it went from like this feared thing where recruits would, try so hard not to get IT'd, to where everyone was volunteering to get IT'd out of, I guess, a sign of respect, and also, this like culminating event where we knew that we were graduating soon and that we could never be in that moment ever again. And it was just, I don't know, it was like I remember volunteering, being so motivated to get AT by my drill instructor, even though it sucked, you know, because I was never gonna get that back, and I wanted to give my best effort. So yeah, guys, it sounds weird, but just know that boot camp is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, guys, and it's all a matter of perspective. Approach it like it's something that you can never get back, never do again, so give it your best effort. Lastly, the last inhibiting factor that determines your success or failure at Marine basic training is the inability to adapt and overcome. But honestly, guys, if you address those first two things, your ego, leaving your pride at home, and being able to work well with others with a sense of humility and humbleness, combine that with a lack of laziness, showing some initiative, giving your maximum 110% effort every single time, you will find that you will naturally be able to adapt and overcome in any situation. And doing those things will ultimately allow you to be the best recruit possible, allowing you to be the best Marine that you possibly can be. And that's what I want you guys to understand. That's what I want from you guys, to be the best Marine that you guys can be. And because in the end, it's gonna help the Marine Corps just become a better place overall. That's it for the video, guys. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. I love reading feedback, any questions that I can address in future videos, so please do that. And yeah, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Until next time, stay frosty, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, guys, it's Friday. This is the first weekend I've had off in weeks, probably months, actually. So we're at the mall, and we're about to go to all-you-can-eat sushi. Called Sushi On in Northern Virginia, so yeah, exciting.
My tummy's grumbling.
It's about to be